You're watching the Council in Brief. I'm Susan Kenedy. We're here with the latest news of the Montgomery County Council. County Executive Mark Elrich has released his fiscal year 2020 operating budget, his first since taking office. Council members told us their initial thoughts on this $5.7 billion proposal. The executive's budget includes a $51 million increase in funding for Montgomery County Public Schools, adds funding to the county reserves, and doesn't raise taxes. Council President Nancy Navarro says at first look she is pleased with the proposal, and the council will carefully work to make sure it balances the needs of all county residents.
I want to thank the county executive and his staff for working so hard to put together a budget that I think reflects many of our shared priorities. I do want to commend that he has held the line on taxes and that he has kept our promise to reach the 10% goal for reserves. This is a very important promise that we have made and a very important target for us. I do want to say that, of course, we're going to now begin our work here on the county council through committees, and we're going to look at issues of, for example, sustainability. We're obviously going to look very carefully at the negotiated agreements.
Police and fire and emergency services will get more than $650 million under the Elrich proposal. The budget also includes an increase for health and human services and transportation. Funding for Montgomery County Public Schools was below what it requested, and Elrich's budget decreases funding to Montgomery College. Councilmember Craig Rice chairs the Education Committee. He says this initial proposal is concerning.
Absolutely. While we know that we want to try and pay our employees more money, it's actually unfortunate that the county executive structured his budget in such a way that it actually pits our unions and them getting additional funding against us really having to really try and focus on funding our educational systems, both K through 12 as well as higher ed. And so we're going to have to do some tough work now in trying to balance those two priorities, understanding that we can't make money, and so to achieve a balanced budget, something's going to have to give.
The council will begin public hearings on the budget April 8th. Follow this link to sign up to testify.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you to my council colleagues as well as to...
In other news, Councilmember Tom Hucker held a press conference to discuss his latest bill, which would remediate high lead levels in the drinking water in Montgomery County Public Schools. Councilmember Hucker introduced the legislation after more than 200 water fountains in Montgomery County Public Schools tested at levels above the state requirement.
The council is going to make a number of important policy decisions this year, but I can't think of anything more important and more urgent than putting a stop to permanent, irreversible brain damage to our children. Lead is known to cause lower IQ, hyperactivity, slowed growth, hearing problems, hypertension, and anemia.
Hucker's bill would restrict lead levels at public schools from 20 parts per billion to 5 parts per billion. During testing, lead levels in the drinking water in some county schools were as high as 500 parts per billion.
Second, Montgomery County, as all of you know, has agreed to apply an equity lens to our decision making. So it's important that we address the inequity between our wealthier schools and our high poverty schools. Data from the testing that was done already in our schools showed that some of the highest poverty schools were found to have some of the highest lead ratings.
Maryland's mandated testing discovered that many of the schools with a large number of outlets with higher level of leads were located in communities with the greatest numbers of families living in poverty. These schools serve our most at-risk children. It is unacceptable to expose these students to yet another factor that could negatively impact their learning.
A bill at the state level sponsored by former teacher and Montgomery County Delegate Jared Solomon passed unanimously in the House. The measure passed 137-0.
Our bill at the state level has a year implementation window. It doesn't go into effect until 2020. We have been blessed in Montgomery County with a school system that has really been at the forefront of the lead testing. We finished our lead testing really before almost any other jurisdiction in the state, and so it's critical that Montgomery County move immediately to protect our students.
The council is set to vote on the measure later this month. In the meantime, Councilmember Hucker has asked staff from parks, recreation, and libraries to submit budget proposals to test their drinking fountains. Well, that does it for this edition of the Council in Brief. For County Cable Montgomery, I'm Susan Kenedy.